Hello YouTube and welcome to Full Dottle, a channel dedicated to tamping topics such as pipes, tobacco, lure, and more. I am your host, the Bearded Briarman, and without further ado, let's get lit. Welcome back everyone, and on this episode of Full Dottle, I'm going to be doing another home stoving experiment with you. But first, a little housekeeping. I am smoking my 7LE673KS Rusticated. This is the Tiger, and in it I've got some Cornell & Diehl Winchester. So if you remember, the first time I did the home stoving experiment, I bought two different types of tobaccos. Both of them were straight tobacco, one a bright Virginia, one a red Virginia. I put them in jars and then I stoved them on 200 degrees Fahrenheit for around 2.5 hours or so. I don't consider the experiment a fail necessarily. It didn't ruin the tobaccos. However, it wasn't a big enough change that I found would be worthy of such a process. So I decided to go back to the drawing board and do it exactly how Fred Hanna had described in his article. So I went ahead and I picked up two tins. These were some of the cheapest tins of tobacco I could find. They are a straight tobacco. There is no topping on it, no flavored topping. As I said in my other video, from what I've read, flavored tobaccos do not do well with this method. And I don't know if it's some sort of a chemical process or what, but at any rate, I bought Eric Stokeby's 4th generation, 1855. These were only in the $8 mark per tin. I bought two of them, one that I won't do anything with, the other one I'm going to stove. So Fred Hanna suggests to take your tins, stove them at 200 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 hours. And that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I've got the kitchen all set up. The oven has been preheated to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to pop this thing in and see what happens. So join me over in the kitchen and let's get started. Welcome back to the Full Dottle kitchen. I've got the tin here. Here's my cookie sheet and I've got the grate on top of it, just as I did before. Putting the grate on the cookie sheet allows air circulation more freely around the tin. The one thing about the tin, you don't have to remove any of the paper labeling. Paper ignites at around 480 degrees Fahrenheit, and so with the oven set at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, we won't have to worry about that. The tin is still sealed. I did not break the seal, so we'll just place that directly on top. We'll pop it in the oven for 5 hours. Okay, Google. Set alarm for 5 hours.
All right, your alarm's set for 4:33 p.m.
And that's it. We wait 5 hours and let's see what happens to it. I'm going to get this tobacco out of the oven. It's been 5 hours. I'm going to let it cool just long enough to be able to handle it and then transfer it over into a jar. After I transfer it into a jar, I'll let it rest for just a little while, depending on the moisture content, and then we'll take it into the Full Dottle Lounge to try it out and see what changes we have. So let's take a look here. It doesn't seem like it's going to take very long to cool off enough where I can touch it, but give me just 10 minutes or so and we'll come back to it to see if we can grab it, open it up, and transfer it into a jar. Alright, so that took all of just a few minutes. The vacuum seal has been compromised during the stoving process. I'm going to open it up here. I've got my jar ready. All right, got it sealed up here. You can see I've got it labeled for the brand type or the blend type and all that stuff. And then I've also on the bottom, you can see that it's not very easy to read, but I've got 200/300 mark. That's 200 degrees Fahrenheit for 300 minutes. HS is home stoved, and then the date that I did it, which was, I've got 7/5/20 written down there. This is actually a tin from March of 2019. Anyway, now then, I'm going to let this tobacco rest. I'm going to let this tobacco rest for probably an hour, maybe 2 hours, just depending. I'll fill it and see what's going on. I want it to rest, and I want the moisture level in it to kind of equalize and marry in just a little bit. And then as soon as I get the hour out of the way, we'll go into the full Dottle smoking lounge and we'll see the type of transformation or lack thereof that has taken place. So everybody stay tuned. We're going to head right in there in just a little bit. All right, everyone. So after I let the tobacco rest for about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, I opened it up. I smelled it. There is a big change in the aroma. I'll put up a picture here of what the color difference is between the two. It wasn't a huge difference in color, but it was noticeable. You can see that it definitely got a lot darker. The tin aroma from it, or the jar aroma from it, the fresh Eric Stokkebye's 1855, which this is a straight Virginia. It has no topping or anything like that on it. It is in a ready rubbed flake. The fresh Eric Stokkebye's Virginia here, the 1855, had a lot of that grassy hay type aroma. It smelled like fresh honey. The home stoved tobacco had a lot more earthiness to it, a lot more of a mineral type smell, like a molasses, very deep, very rich. Yesterday I went ahead and I tried some of the fresh tobacco, just like most bright Virginias. It has a very grassy, hay-like quality, a little on the sweet side with notes like citrus in it, very, very light citrus in it. So let's light up this home stoved and see what type of transformation has taken place. So I'll tell you, the fresh Virginia that we have here, the 1855, it was a little bit bitey. It was acidic. It had that, what I call the green type Virginia flavor. This is much deeper, much richer, and it's more mellow than the fresh. The sweetness, I think it's diminished the sweetness a bit. And now I'm getting a little bit more earth tones out of it than the hay and grass from the fresh. I don't know how to describe it. I can definitely say that I prefer it like this over the fresh, hands down. It's a lot smoother. It's a lot more mellow like this. But what I'm noticing is, as far as the flavor profile, what's happened is it's basically taken the fresh, it's deepened the earth tones in it, taken that green edge off of it, smoothed it out, made it more mellow. Now it has a darker, if that makes any sense, it has a darker flavor. Much more earthy than the fresh. I'm not catching a lot of that hay and grass out of this at all. It's not bitey at all. I'm getting more earth and leathers out of it than I am the grass and the hay from the fresh Virginia. I would call this, for me personally, because I don't like a fresh Virginia, it's just not something that appeals to me. I would, if I ever had a fresh Virginia, I would do this. I consider this a success. Yeah, I enjoy it. I'll tell you, it's unusual that it's just weird to me that it would tone it down like that. But it definitely has. It's taken that edge off of the fresh Virginia, and it's given it more of a woody, earthy, mineral type flavor. It's taken all of the sweetness almost from it though, so maybe that would be a drawback. I'm not getting any sweetness out of it whatsoever. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but that classic sweetness that you get from a Virginia is not in this now. It tastes a lot like what an aged Virginia tastes like. I've got a jar up here of fresh or full Virginia flake that is 9 years old, and I've got a jar of full Virginia, or not a jar, I've got a tin that is still sealed in my closet that is 11 years old. And this is really close to the 9-year-old jar that I have up here. I would say you get just a touch of that molasses type richness from it. I would say this is actually worth a try. You take the tin and put it in the oven, pull it out 5 hours later. As long as you're around the house for 5 hours, not something that I would say is not worthy. It's definitely worth your time to try it. When I brought it out of the oven, the seal had been compromised, probably because of the expansion of the tin and the contraction of the tin. But the tobacco itself, the moisture level was just it was just a tad on the dry side, but for me, I think it was perfect. I think this is great. Yeah, I'm getting just a little bit of that molasses. I'm getting earth and leather and mineral out of it instead of the grass and the hay and that acidic citrus type flavor from the fresh. Guys, I say this is worth it. Very good stuff. What brought me to want to try the tin, I actually tried doing this with Cabby's mixture. And I will tell you what, the Cabby's mixture is phenomenal after you've stoved it like this. I didn't do it on camera because I just didn't have, I should have, I just didn't think that it was going to have this type of an effect. I wish I would have though, but it turned out phenomenal. But I'm not going to, I want to keep the rest of my Cabby's mixtures, so I'm not going to do that one again. But I will tell you, the Cabby's mixture was awesome. This, I think it's worth a try. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy tobacco, not the straight Virginia, Eric Stokoby's 1855. I wouldn't go out of my way to buy it, to do this, to keep in my rotation. However, as an experiment, this to me is much more enjoyable than the fresh tobacco. So there you have it, guys. It's an $8 tin of tobacco, so total, I think, after shipping and all that to where I live was like $23. For $23, I think the experiment was a success. The only thing I'm going to say, here's my caveat. Because the Cabby's mixture was such a success, I don't know why the straight Virginias are not coming out the same way. I don't know if it's because of the different blends of tobaccos act differently when they're stoved together or what. So in future experiments, I'm going to take tins of well-known blends and we're going to try it that way. My only rule is obviously I'm not going to use anything with a flavored topping. On this channel, I don't smoke flavored toppings on my tobaccos. It's just my preference. I have one up here, the Pembroke, that has a flavored topping. That was a tobacco that I won in a Yabo from Mel Harris Garbage Man Piper, and I will gladly smoke that. It's a wonderful blend. But just as a rule of thumb, I don't smoke flavored tobaccos. So I won't be trying it with flavored tobaccos, but I'm very interested to, I've got a tin of Escudo that I'm on the fence on whether or not I'm going to try it with that, because I don't know if, I mean, I would hate to ruin a great tin of Escudo. But I have read that it's well worth it with that particular blend. So anyway, everybody, that's going to do it for this episode of Full Dottle. A success here. If you enjoyed this, this episode, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And until the next time we see each other, I bid you farewell and happy piping. Bye, everyone. Don't forget to enlist in the Full Dottle platoon. It's easy, just click the subscribe button. Also, hit the bell icon to be notified as soon as I upload the next episode.